Hello YouTube, welcome to today's YouTube video, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at BLG Weiwei picking Kha Zix in the LPL against UP. And as you can see, the runes are on screen. He is playing Conquer Kha Zix and he's going to be playing Gordrinker with Ghost, which is also known as the Agharim build, which is also the build that I am currently playing in Masters on EU West. So we're going to take a look at the game and to see how he does, and if we can learn anything, and if there is anything that we could point out that is either good or bad.
Back of Weiwei a bit here. He has gone with the Ghost Smite here as a Kha Zix jungle with Conqueror. So we're not going full electrocute, folks. We're not going Dark Harvest or anything that really insinuates that this Kha Zix is going to be a huge assassin. But at the very least, Orcs, do you want to touch on it?
It's gonna be a bit more bruisery, I expect. Like one of the things with Kha Zix is when
So the first thing I will say is that the pick itself is not too bad because the enemy team does not have any true sight. There's no Twisted Fate, there's no Karma, there's nothing that can really reveal the Kha Zix in his ult, which is really good. So he will evolve his ult first. And into Viego is not too bad of a matchup either, so I don't hate this pick in this situation at all actually. But UP is invading. Holy shit, flash exhausts instantly. Didn't hit anything. 4v3 right now for the blue buff. This looks pretty good for BLG actually. Weiwei should also be able to secure it with Q Smite compared to Viego Q Smite. Kha Zix Q Smite does more damage. Oh, but the blue buff resets. Oh, we are just fist fighting now, level 1. Not ideal for the Kha Zix, but for the Renata and for the Swain it's a lot better, and they end up winning it. Kha Zix ended up getting 1 assist.
At least in game 1, Hacker waited till 3 minutes, but I mean, they're starting even earlier. In this one, what was Chelsea doing?
And Kha Zix starts on bot and paths upwards towards the Gangplank and the Sidrani. Reason is probably because he doesn't feel like he can kill the Senna or the Tahm because it's a pretty safe lane, and that is why he is pathing upwards. And I feel like he can do something on either mid or top. In mid lane he does have the Swain pull to help him, but Azir also has a dash. And on top lane there's not really any CC. And Swain also has, or Sidrani also has a dash, but holy shit, Gangplank is just poking the Sidrani out of lane. And we see that Viego also started on bot, but skipped his Crux, so he ends up on top side faster. Because Kha Zix honestly clears really slow.
We're just talking about draft and how it feels like a difference. It's a 1k gold lead now. BLG, they might not be ahead in the jungle, but there's a kill.
Oh, the Viego is going towards top. Kha Zix is also going towards top, but he is slower. And Gangplank is dead here. Kha Zix gets the top scuttle though. And he is looking towards invading the blue buff actually. He does put a ward down. He does have Smite up version, so he could go for the invade, but he doesn't really have Prio, so he should be careful with using his E. We see Weiwei actually going in here. Viego also warded the blue buff. It will be a fight for the blue buff. Both junglers do have Smite here. And Weiwei is just pulling it. And here comes the Viego. Alex should be able to secure this with a Q Smite. But it does simply reset. And now Viego will start the blue buff instead, and Kha Zix will back off and start his own red buff instead. It's not really too bad that he doesn't get the jungle camp, because Viego doesn't really get to farm anything either. So Kha Zix wasting a bit of his time is not too bad, as long as he's also wasting Viego's time, so that is completely fine. But the Viego did get the first plot, so in terms of gold, Viego is ahead right now over the Kha Zix, but Kha Zix should be ahead in experience slightly.
from Crying. Obviously with the extra help from the invade, but ultimately...
And now Kha Zix will finish his full clear at 5 minutes by clearing the Crux, and then I'm assuming he will just reset and go back to his Grump.
Challenging someone who is seen as one of the top laners in the league. I mean, last year in summer, people were talking about Fofo really being up there, and he is falling behind a bit. Is able to recoup, but TP from Crying will continue to apply.
Yes, he resets.
Start the mid lane, top lane's going fine, jungle matchup is okay. It's only really this bot lane I'm a bit concerned
Will he
about.
swap to Red Trinket here though? He goes for Iron Spike and a Control Ward, but does keep his Yellow Trinket. That's a bit interesting. But if he does have the Control Ward, then he doesn't need the Sweeper for the Drake. But in terms of ganks, the Sweeper does feel kinda nice. But obviously it's really difficult to get successful gank off in competitive, especially on a champion like Kha Zix. Kha Zix is just going straight through mid. Just walks mid to help shove to get Prio for the butt scuttle. Does put the ward down in the river pixel bush and gets the scuttle crab as well. And then just arms Grump. Does not decide to start the Drake.
Even though you can orange it with Locky in place, and you're not really going to go for a solo dive. Does have that Darn shield and presumably second win for the harass.
And he just clears upwards again.
I actually didn't finish it. I was going to ask you about what Weiwei does with this game state. Like, what do you do as the Kha Zix? Because there was a lot of emphasis on this pick and what it had to achieve. Otherwise, Ultra Prime could kind of just coast with the comp they've set up.
You found the 6. We are seeing the gold rank.
No, Kha Zix clears walls and then goes straight into Drake here. Pretty good, because he does have bot prio. I like this play. Getting an early Drake, and then he can play towards top side when Rift Herald spawns in 1 minute. I actually like this.
If say the front line of Ultra Prime jump in and then Elk is left alone, Kha Zix can really just burst you down. And the fact is you're bulky enough.
Meanwhile, the Viego is counter jungling the Kha Zix Raptors though, so he does lose out on that one jungle camp, but I'm sure he doesn't mind because he gets Drake. And he should still be playing for the Rift Herald when it spawns here in 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, with starting off the dragon and getting towards 6, Weiwei's definitely taking one.
Viego also takes the Crux away from the Kha Zix, but Kha Zix goes to take his own blue buff. And he could potentially, if Viego gets spotted on this control ward in Tribush, Kha Zix could actually go and invade Viego red buff here. We'll see what he does. Nah, he simply walks up towards top side, and we see that Viego is leaving one of the small raptors and one of the small Crux up. So Kha Zix has to clear them for the jungle camp to reset, and we see Viego is actually on the Rift Herald with the Sejuani right now. Kha Zix defending mid, so I don't think Kha Zix will be able to contest this Rift Herald, which kinda sucks for the tempo. But Kha Zix is level 6 though, before the Viego. With the fact that he has a 10 CS lead and also got to tax a little bit of experience from that mid lane wave shove. And also simply from getting Scuttle Crabs. But Viego gets the Rift Herald. See here, is Kha Zix gonna look to invade the red buff? He will actually look to invade red buff with Swain. Because he does have mid and bot prio, so I like this pretty aggressive play from the Kha Zix. Like smites, and they are going for a dive onto bot lane here. Swain is tanking, Kha Zix is going in. It's 1 assist here. Temkins is too tanky, so they decide to just take 1 kill and get out. Pretty good to not greed here, because it could be pretty bad if Azir ultis them into the tower and Viego gets some resets. Kha Zix just takes the bot scuttle. Pretty good play from BLG and Weiwei on Kha Zix. Very passive game so far, but Kha Zix doesn't really mind it too much. He can look for some plays at level 6 with his ulti, but in terms of team fighting and pulse spikes, he doesn't really do too much until he hits level 11 with the evolved W. And also the Gore Drinker as well is pretty huge on Kha Zix. So remember that this is the Imperial Mandate build, so gold is going to essentially support Swain as we look at this one again.
Yeah, the root, honestly, from Elk, not the best. You should have saved that for the dive so that you can root Fofo and he could take enough tower hits to die. You can see the Swain very bulky with the ultimate, but even then has to get out quickly before the tower shots ramp and able just to pick up the center and get away in that
Kha Zix is now on top side. Not really anything to do. He can potentially look for gank onto the Sejuani.
If you can be able to hit them, the shield afterwards is pretty massive.
Puts a ward down for the Gangplank. Interesting to see that he is still playing with yellow trinket 10 minutes into the game.
Maybe Elk overstepping.
Yeah, trusting Shousey. I mean, there we go, the Devour in action. Elk saved.
Problem is,
why?
It's a cooldown used, right?
Yeah.
Just from overstepping there a little bit. And realistically, you know, you can definitely fish for souls sometimes and overstep, or you can try and get trades that give you souls and go too far.
Kha Zix bases now because all of his jungle camps are down, except for his Crux. And maybe he has the specific amount of gold that he needs and would rather look for fast play. And now Kha Zix swaps to red trinket after 11 minutes. Gets a Warhammer and a Ruby Crystal.
To press R as soon as possible to get the shield. I just don't think he had time before the cannon barrage came down, but ultimately Doggo and Crisp just styling on this bot lane 2v2. But like the center Tom Kent,
Kha Zix walks straight back up into top to clear that Croc camp. If he looks for a gank onto top afterwards, then it's not too weird, but if he doesn't do anything, then it is a bit weird that he didn't just clear it in the first place and play towards the Drake that's about to spawn in less than a minute. Chunks out the Viego here. My opinion should look his way towards bot side and the Drake. Maybe he wants to stay for the scuttle. No, he jumps over the wall.
So at least some gold goes back and it's into Crine. Remember the Crine in game number 2 on the Talia was also 30 CS ahead. He's maintained that in this game. He's got himself a Leandries on the Azir.
Viego gets this top scuttle, but Kha Zix should be able to take this Drake for free. So not a bad trade for the Kha Zix at all. Final Drake is still kinda nice, even though you are playing Bruiser Kha Zix. Because the base damage is still pretty decent on Kha Zix.
We aren't getting the Leandries from him, but Bin got a kill there. Bin got a kill with the ultimate, and now able to match Zoom a little better. And Bin with resources, like we saw in last game, does a hell of a
And Kha Zix starts up the Drake and should be able to secure it.
Triforce now completed. Big spike for the GP, so there comes some spot. Now BLT look for that second dragon. Now I think Ultra Prime contest, so BLT get off to a really solid start. Got those early objectives, and that's something that Kha Zix
There it is. And it's gonna be Ocean Soul in this game.
Targets just mean you could rush down those neutrals so quickly. And able to secure them early on. 2 dragons speed caught, so
Kha Zix is 3 levels away from his pulse spike right now.
I feel like definitely has some value. You know, this is going to be a bulkier Kha Zix, but I think better for Ultra Prime who have more tankier members, in all honesty.
Just love watching topside. Zoom does enough damage, but so does Bin. Ignite comes down. It gets a bit more serious with Hacker joining in, but Bin's away in time. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Shousey slowed down.
Kha Zix gonna look for another gank here on bot. Can't really gank, can only be a dive, but now he decides to recall. Alright, has his Gore Drinker now. Yep, completes his Gore Drinker. And then he should buy cooldown boots on his next pack into Black Cleaver. That is the standard build for Bruiser Kha Zix.
Really coming, you know, nearly got 4 plates done, and Elk's trying to make these trades happen, but so scary this Aphelios if you just end up mispositioning. Oh, Elk.
Well, he's gonna hit, and Shousey eats him up midway. Good shielding.
Oh, this could be bad for BLG's bot lane here. Yeah, Doggo will die and Crisp will also die. So Kha Zix decides to do a cross map, and the best thing he can do right now is get the second Rift Herald. And potentially use that second Rift Herald to get first tower to get a gold lead, because the gold difference right now is 0, so it's dead even game, but BLG does have those 2 dragons that the Kha Zix picked up. But UP could get a gold lead here from getting first tower, but instantly. And they will get the first tower. And there is a 500 gold lead in favor of UP.
They just managed to decimate through, I believe. It was full health, right? Either way, a ton of plates, a ton of gold.
But Kha Zix could look for dive here onto the Sejuani with the Rift Herald, also together with Swain. Rift Herald comes out. There's also TP from Crisp, because Crisp is playing with the Unsealed Spellbook. So Giannis should be dead here, and he is. Kha Zix gets the kill and the tower, and that should even out the gold. And now the game is dead even again, but now Cryan is gonna get the mid tower. And it's just constantly trading back and forth. But after all the trades, it is back to even in terms of gold.
Yeah, so they didn't get the plates, but they got the first tower gold, whereas BLG missed out on it. And it's just the instant TP as soon as 14 minutes hit. You see the Azir turn up, kills Doggo. Crisp can't do anything, he's already burnt his flash, really heads up play. And then on the back of this, they get that bot lane tier 1, get the first tower gold, they get the mid lane tier 1, really impactful from Cryan, and things are looking positive.
And then the Drake is gonna come up in 2 minutes. Kha Zix is level 10, so Kha Zix is probably just gonna look to farm up to get his level 11 for that Drake fight, because the difference between level 10 and level 11 Kha Zix is really huge with that evolved W. Goes to invade and steals half of the Croc camp. Kha Zix decided not to buy anything on the base that he just had after getting the tower and the kill on top. Probably because he did not have that 650 gold just yet.
Winning up against OMG in the first series was amazing, but here putting up the effort against BLG is good too. Now
Is looking for a dive here. It's a really aggressive play here. They do get a flash. Can they finish the tower? I don't think they can. No, they back off. There's now 1 minute to the Drake, and Kha Zix will reset for it. And let's see if he will buy that. Those CDR boots here now. Nope, he decides to go for Merc Threats instead. And that is probably because of Sejuani having CC, Viego having CC, Azir being AP, Senna having CC, and some Kens having CC, so kinda makes sense. I think that the Kha Zix should have Tenacity in his runes. I do not remember if he had it from the runes on screen early, but he should have Tenacity in this game. Then yeah, typically he just go for CR boots, but he decides to go for Mercs instead in this game. But he does also pick up a double longsword, which I'm assuming is gonna build into a Warhammer that will then be upgraded into a Black Claver. And Kha Zix is unfortunately not level 11 here, which means that he is not that strong compared to if he was level 11. But they do decide to take the fight anyway. Goes on to some Kench, finish him off, and that should be a free Drake for BLG then.
Meanwhile, Hack has to back away at half HP. Elk's now joined in, but BLG feeling confident to look for the third dragon, which is a big deal.
We'll see if they can contest. Shouty obviously can't eat himself. The one who can't be saved. No flash means he's cut out, but they're still looking for an angle.
And there it is. And now Weiwei is level 11, and I saw he evolved his W, so now he's really strong in these type of fights. Does not have ult, so he jumps over the Azir ulti. Back to safety after being pushed in. Pretty good. Results in another kill onto the Azir. And Weiwei is actually chasing here. Jumps into them actually with 0 respect and uses Gourd Drinker. Smites the Crux as well. Holy shit, that was a bit greedy. I'm not sure if I would have done that in my solo queue game. But Weiwei ends up doing it. Can he find a good slow here? Jumps in again. It's a 2-man slow. But doesn't end up finding anything more. But completely fine. They now have a 1k gold lead and 3 Drakes, so they just want to play for solo now. Kha Zix is now level 11, so the next team fight will be a lot easier for him to that last one that they just took. So let's see Kha Zix bases now. Goes for that Warhammer. Really likes buying a lot of control wards. Typically, it's good to buy controllers. You just want to make sure you don't buy too many, that you only buy them when they're actually useful for objectives and for having vision in the river and having vision prio, and not just being used to just clear one ward for the enemy team to just take that control ward back.
BLG want you to come into them so that Doggo with red-white can just free hit. So when Cryan flies in and looks for the shuffle, we get the flash from Crisp and then the jump away from Weiwei so no one's caught. And now look at Doggo. He's standing on Crying, ready to decimate him. And then the follow-up to the fight. Oh, engage won't come in there, though they're looking.
Weiwei starting to look for those flanks. Is being engaged on, but simply jumps out.
That top laner was the fridge.
That's the thing with Bruiser Kha Zix, you're still playing an assassin even though you have a Bruiser build, so you're still looking for flanks to either set up for an AoE W or actually to set up for a kill onto an isolated target. So you're actually not playing frontline, you're kind of playing like a typical assassin, just with a very tanky build. So preferably you want to engage from the side or from behind, rather than facing the enemy team at first. But yeah, I'm assuming that the game is going to be very, very passive for the next 2 minutes, and then by then the Ocean Soul will spawn, and then if BLG wins the fight or can secure the Drake, then that should almost pretty much be GG at that point.
This is what BLG want. They want to be dove into, and it's only when Ultra Prime realize the fight is bad and start running away that you can see BLG's comp isn't as effective, right? They're not as good at chasing down. They want you to run into them, and I think Ultra Prime need to re-examine how they're approaching these fights.
Because again, there was such a highlight on the draft difference on how Ultra Prime set themselves up for ease of access, ease of this third game for potential win. Now Ultra Prime aren't that far behind in gold, but Dragons are a concern here, Orcs. We've got an Ocean Soul coming up in a minute 30. BLG prepared.
There we have the Kindle gem from the Kha Zix, so he's going for Black Cleaver. It would be a little bit weird if BLG would play towards the Baron instead of just playing towards the Soul. I would definitely be playing towards the Soul myself, because it lasts for the rest of the game. And Ocean Soul is not a bad soul whatsoever, especially for a champion like Kha Zix when he's going Bruiser build. So even if it ends up being a trade, Baron for Soul, I think that is just in favor of BLG actually.
Lose out in levels if you denied waves, because again, you're not the one farming. But 50 seconds on this dragon. The pivotal thing is whoever gets onto the area first, who gets control of it, will have such a big advantage. Both teams kind of want you to run into them. So establishing control, very, very important. And both teams are hotly trying to contest this here and now.
Quite scared for Bin to do exactly that. Zoom takes a chunk. Now, Zoom
30 seconds for Drake to spawn. Alex is just throwing that W out over and over again to do a little bit of poke.
35 seconds, excuse me, 25. I was pixelated until this dragon spawns. Ocean Soul coming through his TP now. There is all handshake on Hacker. That's the jungler.
Half HP on the Viego.
Half HP.
Looks really, really good for BLG right now. Drake spawns in 10 seconds now. It is just a fight over and over and over again for position in the bot river here. And here UP goes in. Pay attention to Weiwei. Was jumping onto the Seer. Goes for another slow here. Another slow comes in. He's just constantly walking forward. Is he gonna chase anymore? He will chase. It's another W, but decides to fall back to do Drake. And that should be Soul for BLG. And I am fairly confident that BLG ends up winning this. I haven't seen the game before. I just saw on Twitter that Weiwei picked Kha Zix, and huge respect to Weiwei for doing that. Kha Zix is definitely not a champion that you often see in competitive, simply because the champion is more or less dependent on isolation, and in competitive that is very, very difficult to do. The guy is also a champion that kind of wants to be ahead in order to be useful, so and ganks are not easy to pull off whatsoever in competitive, so huge respect to Weiwei for picking Kha Zix here.
Even though he runs out of health, all he has to do is kill Zoom, and Doggo is there to make sure it happens. Low health bars coming in. For Ultra Prime, they've lost their primary frontliner, and Doggo even feels confident enough to charge forwards. The constant never moves coming in to drag people in. And despite once more stopwatches coming in to keep people from going down, BLG managed to find the fight.
Beautiful ult from Chris. Beautiful W, sorry, with the bailout. Chris saving the day, keeping Ben in it. The highlight of BLG, if you haven't heard, in the past.
Not gonna lie, that was really int from that Senna. I can't lie. That was like a tilt play. He just ran into 4 people, died after the fight was over.
Replay. 3k gold lead, but more importantly, the Ocean Soul now here at 25 minutes or.
So now all BLG wants to do is pretty much just get pressure over Baron and then try and secure the Baron so that they can start pushing in towards the enemy base. Because even though they have Ocean Soul, it's not easy to push in against a Seer and Senna. Because the only range that they have is... well, in terms of pushing, it's only really the Aphelios, maybe the Swain. Oh. And we also have Black Cleaver completed for Kha Zix here. What Kha Zix would go next, typically, is either Frozen Heart or Malma Mortius, or some heal reduction, but because the Renata already has heal reduction, I'm assuming it's gonna be either Maul or Frozen Heart.
They are getting control of an area, and anyone who tries to approach Multiprime, they're just throwing out cooldowns at them.
I mean, Fofo with a never move, aiming for Elk once again, trying to get that time catch ulti out, but look, here we go!
Here comes the fight. Pay attention to Weiwei once again flanking, going from the side.
Doggo feeling as well. Crying's ulti, a big deal, but he's jumped on in the bailout, helping so much. Chelsea.
Yeah, it's gonna be a 5-for-1.
BLG making it so up must come down.
I think BLG will push towards Inhib and then go... No, they'll just take tier 2 tower and then go Baron. Or maybe Bin will solo push and... Bot plus jungle will take Baron. No, Bin just decides to take bot side jungle. Away from the Viego. Yeah, now they get the Baron and they can look to push with this Baron until the Elder spawns, and Baron lasts for 3 minutes, so by the time Elder spawns, then Baron runs out. That was pretty nice timing.
Might have just secured themselves their first series win of the LPL 2022 summer off the back of a very hard series, but a very entertaining one, including the game.
Yeah, and Hackett dashes forward. They know he doesn't have ultimate. They know he doesn't have flash. So they just chase him down. The permanent slows coming out from Fofo with their allies now. And Bin finds his ammo with the barrel.
Decent barrel.
Actually connects onto Hacker, and he's not the full crit build. He's not doing as much damage, but it's enough to finish off. And then Crying, doing what he can, The tower setup, the Emperor.
I will also say it's a lot easier for Kha Zix to set up his teammates so they can hit their abilities. Like a Gangplank Barrier is really easy to hit if Kha Zix slows. Same for the Swain E, same for the Renata E. So pretty much what Kha Zix wants to do is just spam the W over and over again for one of his teammates to land some either big damage or some CC and then go in after that. Rather than just like using ult to go in melee range to start doing damage, he will just kind of stay on the side and just constantly be in range for W until another teammate sets him up with the engage.
He's 1.5 items strong. It's all about Crying and how do you deal with multiple waves at once.
Alice decides to go for a stopwatch and a longsword. I'm assuming the stopwatch is just because the game is 28 minutes into the game and team fights are kind of important right now, and the stopwatch could be the difference between Kha Zix staying alive in a fight and not staying alive, more than a Hexshrinker's shield would or a Warden's mail would, so not a bad purchase at all. But not common to see on Kha Zix.
It's the Elder Dragon. Yeah. So this is probably going to be... BLG may not be able to crack the base. They may do. But more importantly, Ultra Prime won't get to leave their inhibitor towers. And then Elder Dragon's going to spawn. And Ultra Prime have to walk all the way through their red side.
He's also now level 15. And if he ends up hitting level 16 this game, before the game ends, then he should evolve his E last. Just for the team fights once again, that if he gets a takedown, then he can jump again. To either jump onto another target or simply jump in range for another slow. And then that way just win the team fight even harder just from getting that first initial kill. Like using Ghost and ult to go in.
So confident. Weiwei as well. This bruiser Kha Zix taking nothing as Elk's dragged in, saved by Shalsey, but now Shalsey
Kha Zix
is
just
gonna
jumping
die for that sin. Elk
into
running
Nexus
all back to
towers.
Fofo, doesn't care, he's built support, he'll do enough. Orcs, it won't even end.
Okay, this is actually a pretty big int from BLG. They don't need to die 2 people at all for this. You got a little bit too excited.
Doom is still a bit of a fridge. Running forward, Doggo taking some damage with the Gale Force, gets him out of dodge, and
Can they just end here?
drops the ulti, and
No.
BLG are just toying with him at this point.
They decide to just fall back and take the Elder Drake.
Start to rush forward and tower dive. That's when Ultra Prime actually starts
The 2 choices they had there, I mean, they had features in my opinion. That they could greed to try and end, or they could go for the top inhib, or they can go for Elder, and they decide to take it the ultra safe way and just play for the Elder Dragon, and will then come for that top inhib later. But they will be contested. They won't get this Elder Drake for free, and Kha Zix is forced to ulti away. But they will just play it slow, because now the Renata and Swain is coming out of base. And Sejuani is still dead, but does have TP. So I believe we will get one last fight on Elder here. This will be the game-changing fight. Either UP will get back into the game and get a huge comeback, or BLG is simply just gonna ace UP and end the game. A really important fight here coming up. You see Weiwei is kinda flanking, going from behind. Not standing together with his team to front the enemy, but instead trying to find a flank onto either an isolated target or to set up a really good slow. A little bit interesting that the team starts to Drake and the jungler is not on it. This fight is very, very, very slow.
It's Ben who sets up his barrel chain. I'm waiting for it to pop off, but Cryin is denying it. With Weiwei still not in the pit and the dragon just taking its sweet time. Orcs save Ocean Soul.
A very, very slow fight here.
They can just sustain up the poke. Cryan's trying to get it down. He's doing a good job of deleting the barrels before they come up. But no one's really finding too much.
Oh, here comes the engage. Teamfight breaks out. But no one ends up dying. A lot of ultis wasted. And this is just a dance battle going on this Elder Drake right now, not gonna lie.
And onto the dragon it begins.
You can see the difficulty. The engage is lacking for BLG. They try and throw down the Renata ult, but it's not doing enough. The thing that's favoring them is that Ocean Soul, the sustain, keeping them healthy.
Oh, really good stopwatch. That's why he bought stopwatch. Holy shit. And guy's already having the ulti back up again. Guys again can get his ult cooldown down to like around, I think he can get it below 30 seconds actually, and the ulti lasts for 10 seconds, so you basically have only 20 seconds of time where you don't have any invis. And the stopwatch ended up paying off. Was actually the reason why they won the fight and end up winning the game and end up winning their first series in LPL Summer Split. GG. That's basically the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and once again, huge respect to Weiwei for pulling out the Kha Zix in an LPL game, in the game deciding game as well. Yeah, if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like. If you have any questions regarding Kha Zix, either in competitive or the Bruiser Kha Zix playstyle that Weiwei was playing, then leave in the comment section down below. And then otherwise, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel to help my channel grow. And then I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys here in my next YouTube video or at my next live stream on Twitch. See you guys.